Landon, thanks for getting together with me today. I've got Landon Cooley from Pest Share. I've been hanging out with a little bit at conferences, getting to know his product, hearing great things from my clients about what you're doing and from the industry. So I just want to hand it over to you, Landon. Tell us what you do at Pest Share.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on. Pest Share is the first pest control platform for rental homes. And so we have actually, worked with property managers over the last, we started working on this in 2019. We had some single family residential property managers that were feeling some unique pain points when it comes to pest control. They'd felt like the traditional pest control offerings from a Terminix or an Orkin or whatever their local pest provider weren't really fitting for the type of issues that they're having. And ultimately, really the biggest pain point that we were finding was that the resident is typically responsible for pest control issues per a standard lease agreement, but the resident can't afford proper pest control service. So they usually turn to a can of Raid or really most of the time don't treat the issue. But statistically, almost 90% of rental homes experience a pest infestation, and 70% of renters are choosing DIY. And what this is leading to ultimately is an increase in turns and vacancies and turnover in the properties and extended vacancy periods, which is the biggest expense for property managers. And so what we've developed ultimately is a platform to totally handle pest control for the property managers. So when the resident experience a pest issue, rather than calling their property manager, they can go to our platform. We help them identify the pest. They submit the property information, it matches in our software on the back end, and then the software creates a work order and distributes it to a local service provider. And so the residents can ultimately receive on-demand pest control services whenever they need it. And ultimately we work with property managers on the back end. We'll include this typically within the resident benefit program. And so the residents will have the product paid for already within their monthly lease payment. They'll have coverage for pests that really impact the residents experience things like bed bugs, cockroaches, the pests that make people move. And with that in place, they can just seamlessly come to our platform and receive service when they need it without any additional costs. It's just covered by that subscription laced into their monthly payment.
Excellent. All right, lots of follow-up questions on that because you covered a lot there, Landon, which is really good eye level. So breaking it down for somebody, by the way, living in Florida, you say 90% of people have a pest control problem. I mean, being in Florida, the pest control guy told me once, he's like, there's two types of homes in Florida, the ones that have ants and the ones that will get ants, and so
yeah,
100% where I live, and I'm sure some areas are like that. But kind of going through from the property manager standpoint, or even from the investor, the client of our clients, the owner of the property, how does mistreated or DIY or undertreated pest control create headaches? So you said it would create vacancy. Can you just elaborate on that? Because I want to make sure people understand the dangers here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell a story a quick story that really led to the formation of Pest Share. We had a client here where I live in Boise, Idaho. They weren't a client of Pest Share at the time. This was before Pest Share, but they had a small boutique multifamily complex. I think there's 50 units. It was like C-class properties, and just a lower demographic of people, that some of which were from other countries. Maybe they're more accustomed to living with pest issues. A lot of them, though, were afraid of saying anything about their pest problems, afraid of getting evicted, or who knows. And so in this case, one unit got bed bugs, and in being a multifamily site where they're connected, that one unit turned to 15 units ultimately that had bed bugs, and no one was saying anything. And so ultimately what ended up happening, that was almost $30,000 in treatment costs to get rid of those bed bugs. Several people being displaced and moved out, having to live in hotels for a period of time. Like a logistical nightmare. But ultimately, that cost all fell on the owner of the property. The owner ended up selling the property. The property manager totally lost management of 50 units. And so, those multifamily situations are unique, but we see in single family too, all of the time, where people get cockroaches. They getting near the end of the renewal period. They don't want to take care of it. They call the property manager and it's like, hey, sorry, that's your problem, not ours. You got to take care of it. And they just don't renew and they move out. And the property manager, they're gone. Property manager's job to get it back on market. So they end up calling the investor. They try to get you end up getting them to pay for it because they just want to get it taken care of. And it's just just not a fun experience for anybody.
So it sounds like that would probably extend the turn time, not dramatically every time, but it could if there's a real problem. Because now I got to get in there and I can't start working on this property until I get this pest control under control, right? And then two, like you said, it's actually people aren't staying because they just rather move to a new place than deal with fixing this problem. So it's kind of like, hey, it's already such a mess here. I'm just going to move on. And now I've got a new leasing fee. I've got vacancy time as a property manager. I am now spending money to get people in there. And so it's costing everybody more money, right? It's like pay me now or pay me later is really what we're seeing with that. Is that a fair way to look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to figure renters in general are relatively transient. I think average time within the SFR space is about 3 years to stay in a property. And so they're accustomed to moving. At the same time, who wants to move? Like moving sucks, especially when you are renting. You do have some of those upfront fees and whatnot in certain cases. And so yeah, it's a really quick way to cut that 3 years down to 1 year, having a pest control infestation issue. But at the flip side of this, and what we focus on is how do we enhance resident experience? How do we include amenities within the property that elevate their time there, that solve impactful issues like pest control that might cause them to want to move or not stay as long and just get ahead of it. And that's the real beauty of what we do is it's a solution that is definitely proactive for the problem, especially for industry standardized. And then, yeah, in the spirit of resident benefit programs, whatnot, we have a way where our clients can make some money on top of it as well and turn it into an ancillary revenue stream. It's a true win-win for everyone when they use our product.
All right, so I'm going to ask about that. But I just think that really clarifying this problem is still so important. And so I also think too about my own real estate investing journey. I mean, we're all excited about all the cash flow we're going to make and all the appreciation. And we all, played cash flow quadrant, rich dad, poor dad. And then we're getting into a property and nobody's talking to us about the costs of pest control, right? It's probably the last thing that comes up, even when you call the property manager. And so I also think this is, if you're proactive about this, it's a fantastic education tool when you're selling your property management service to say to somebody, hey, here are the things that can go wrong. And I'm basically a risk mitigating factor for you. And this is just one more thing I'm going to take out because nobody's talking about it, right? When you're getting into the game until it happens, which is what I'm hearing from you. You've been on the other side. You've just seen it a lot. So would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. Average cost so first and foremost, I'm fourth generation in our family in the pastoral industry. My great grandpa started doing pastoral at the dawn of urban residential pastoral in the 1920s. And since every generation since has been in it. And then my co-founders and our team as well, our collective knowledge in pastoral space is extensive. And so when we say professional for the type of issues property managers deal with, professional pastoral is the only way. RAID does not solve, there's very little DIY. The few options there are still relatively expensive. And when you get into that professional pastoral arena, you're talking 200, 250, maybe a real light issue might be in the hundreds, but up to thousands of dollars, $2,000 for a bed bug treatment. And so it doesn't matter if it's the resident, if it's the investor, it's unforeseen cost that's impactful. And I think the resident generally can't, that demographic is not the demographic that Terminex, the professional pastoral industry, is targeting because they historically can't afford it. But that investor, you nailed it. They're focused on their net operating income and that NOI. And if something like this can really, really tank their NOI pretty quickly, if it's especially something significant like a rodent, bedbug, cockroach. And yeah, that's your job as property managers to help them avoid that.
Great. Thanks for harping on that with me for a second, because I'm thinking some people kind of reading this or watching this, we're talking about prop tech here. We're talking about technology. We're talking about solutions. And then people are like, wait, I wasn't expecting to talk about bugs, but it's a physical problem that really has consequences, but you come up with a technical solution to make the dispatching of that very real world, physical problem and solution easier and more cost efficient for everybody. And that's what I took away when I first met you and you showed me the product. I'm like, yeah, they're using tech to enable it, but this is like a real, like people need to go to the property, solutions need to be deployed, things need to happen, and that can get really expensive. And so by planning for that on the upfront, it starts to create benefits for everybody. Like you said, it's a win-win. So let's talk about the nuts and bolts. Now that we kind of set up the problem, I've seen what you guys do, and it's very different. It's very unique. I mean, going through the site, and I was really excited about like, no, I don't have to have a new portal. I don't necessarily need a login. Sounds like you're really optimizing for ease of use so that people actually do it. So tell us how it works, nuts and bolts.
Yeah. It all starts with the property manager. A property manager signs up with us. They're going to upload their doors onto our platform, so all their property data. We can also, we leverage integrations where we can integrate in with their CRM. That's one thing we're actively working on. Our goal is to have 6 to 8 integrations done, I'd say within 2024. And so we're starting to roll those out. But our team's very savvy too. They can go and extract data. Ultimately, we get it in the platform. And then, the real beauty of Pest Share is we're creating clarity for within your lease for a problem that's very ambiguous and gray. And most lease, like I said, call it out. You have a responsibility as a property manager to keep to ultimately keep the property habitable and in a healthy place, which feeds into this. And so we're going to ultimately outline a coverage and say up front, here's what is going to be covered through Pest Share. Here is what's not. From there, we give the residents access to the platform, and everything's black and white. Things are covered and these are not. And we have a variety of plans that from, more, it's almost like a liability insurance, like more disaster, more simpler, cheaper product, up to more expensive.
Case scenario only kind of insurance.
Yeah, exactly. And so it covers like your bed bugs and fleas and stuff versus like our creme de la creme product covers pretty much everything. Yeah, spiders, you name it. And but yeah, from there, it's really simple from the resident. You nailed it. We want it to be the user experience to be very easy so they actually do something and they don't just let it smolder. It becomes a more difficult problem for us as well if they don't. The sooner the better when the problem arises. But it's real simple. The resident can go on their phone or on their computer, go to pestshare.com. They put in their address. It matches in our software. We actually built out a tool called Pest ID that helps them identify the pests that they're dealing with. Like oftentimes that's the first problem, is not properly identifying the target pest. And then we ask them really unique, specific questions about where they're seeing them, how many they've seen, how often they've seen them, and over what period. And those are the questions that if I was a pest control inspector, I would be coming out and asking myself or asking the person living there. And what we're doing is we're grabbing the key pieces of information, and which would include picture uploads, things like that, so that our pest control provider doesn't actually have to come to the property. They can take one look at that work order with the information and say, oh, well, it's fleas. It's, on 1 to 10, this is a 6 in terms of the infestation. Here's what I need to treat for that. And, they can get it right on the schedule. And right now, our average time to service from the time someone hits submit to them receiving service is 4 days, which we feel like will get faster with time, but compared to the property management industry standard is relatively fast. And it's overall, resident satisfaction's 4.5 stars out of 5. Like we're really seeing a positive experience taking place as we're, working through this. And so, that's kind of how it all flows.
Great. So I just heard a few things, obviously, working with our clients and writing their sales playbooks. My mind knows what they've heard before. So one, you just said 4.5 experience. You're mitigating for property managers' negative reviews, right? Because now they're like, I mean, come on, I've had bugs in this house for 2 weeks. Like, how do they expect me to live here? I mean, that's just a culprit for a negative review for the manager. And then secondly, if it's a great tenant and they're living their life, I mean, they're paying for that convenience when they rent. They're at work all day and they've got to make time to let somebody in the home or, basically approve this. And what I think I took away from what you're saying is you're pre-diagnosing the problem, doing the discovery work. So hopefully they have one visit, one interruption to their life, and not, I got to show up, I got to see it, I've got to learn, I don't have the right stuff with me, now I got to come back. So you're probably reducing the frustration and the overhead on the tenant. Is that a good characterization?
Yeah, absolutely. The our experience with the tenant in most cases, they're just so happy that it's this frictionless experience that's going to get resolved. Oftentimes they forgot, oh, that I have this until they get into the problem, and there's this hesitation of like, so, we work to provide marketing materials and keep them aware, but ultimately that's the good news, because in a lot of situations, it's not their typical real experience. It probably wasn't, and so making it easy for them is key. The other thing to point out is the property manager's done nothing through this process. There could be an extensive bed bug infestation in if we have settings where if they want to be notified in certain things, they can as the client, the property manager. But really, in most cases, they don't, and they don't need to be. Like, the software is designed, and we as a company and the service provider are designed to totally handle it. And that's kind of a mantra we've lived by, is we don't, you had alluded to it as well, of like, we really don't want to be another platform you have to log into. We want to be an integrative platform that lives in the background. And the more integrative we can be, the less interaction required, the more we can just deliver the news to our client, the better. That means we're doing our job right. And again, the resident's different though. We want to really make it accessible, interact with them, and allow them to easily use the platform so that they don't have to call their property manager.
Great. Love that. You're in Boise. I'm down here in South Florida. I got a property management company and I want to work with Pest Share. I mean, do you have techs local? Like, how do you do this? Can I even work with you, or like, how do you actually handle the logistics?
Yeah, a cool part of Pest Share and something that's unique is we have extensive pastoral experience, obviously. We also have extensive experience under our roof in nationwide service management and building nationwide vendor networks. It's something kind of unique that we've done before. So on our team, we have a service operations team. I can't remember how many people on it now. There's probably 15 people on that team, and their sole job is to recruit the best vendors, make sure they're compliant from a licensing, from an insurance perspective, and to provide quality assurance on the whole service dynamic and ensure they're doing true high quality service. Things are going well. They're the ones collecting the resident feedback, all of that. So, yeah, for example, we just launched a multi-state client of ours, a property management firm. And within the 30 days of them signing, before they even go live, or by the time they go live, we'll have a full vendor presence totally filled in for their markets in 6 states. And it's a lot of that is, we're in 40 to 45 states. I'd have to check the number. 42 is the last number I saw, but so we're already present in most markets, but that team is very good at quickly going into a new market and finding before we're even activating any doors. And yeah, it's definitely a benefit though. We just bear that burden ultimately for our clients.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that. I remember that was one of my biggest questions when I met you. Is like, oh, is this just someone you're in 3 or 4 states? But you immediately helped me understand that you've got a whole department of people that are just finding and sourcing these vendors and then following up, which is amazing. And as I think as a property manager, you're taking a problem I have to solve and a frustration, and you're not only taking it off my plate, but you are then helping me turn it into a marketing opportunity and a revenue generating opportunity, right? Marketing, because now I'm offering it to my owners that, hey, you're not going to have to worry about this. We're going to essentially like have a solution so that we can mitigate those unexpected expenses. We're going to put it on the client, and not we're going to put it on the client, but we're going to actually have a way to make sure that the client gets it done. And they, like you just said, it's not the bed bugs, I'm out of here, it's your problem now. And 2, it becomes a revenue generating source. So walk us through the value proposition of working with Pest Share.
Yeah, ultimately, as most property managers know, and some don't, and those that don't should catch on quick, but the management fees are dropping. They're not increasing. Ancillary revenue opportunities are critical in order to maintain and run a good, healthy, profitable business in today's world. And luckily in this space, there's a lot of great opportunities to increase that ancillary revenue within a property management operation. But one great way that is through resident benefit programs, in which you can include a single line item within the monthly lease payment, which is going to include certain amenities. And that's typically where Pest Share goes, is the residents paying for it through an incorporated resident benefit program that's outlined in the lease. Ultimately, our price points that we offer to our clients are like wholesale prices. So there's room to mark up. On average, we usually see a $3 to $10 per unit per month markup on top of our costs. And that's still keeping our pest control costs, like our most popular product to the residents, usually about $20. And the resident's never going to find pest control for $20 a month. Like our industry average $50-$60 a month. So so it allows still a very affordable included resident amenity, pest control amenity that's still generating significant ancillary revenue for the property manager. And yeah, I mean, I'm renting my house. We're building a new home, and when I got on Zillow to look at rentals, I was in a real specific geographical location I wanted to rent. I started cruising through and started to see, oh, here's our clients' properties because they had pest control as a listed amenity within the listing. And I caught on, there's other things. There was, air filter delivery, renter's insurance included. I thought this actually is really cool. I mean, the rents are still within market rates. They're still being competitive, while like from what I'm seeing on Zillow, but there's a real edge they have now because of these benefits. And again, from what I know, they're actually making money in that. And then they're managing the asset better. They're driving that NOI up at the same time for their investor. And that's the coolest part of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that when people resist these expenses, they're assuming that they're never going to have to pay for them, right? They're assuming that like it's just this made up fee. But obviously, it's always the pay me now or pay me later kind of concept. It's why we have auto insurance, right? It's why we do these things like, it's much better to spread that out over 12 months a year than to just one day have a $20,000 incident out of the blue, right? So we can talk about all the problems with health insurance, but still, it's the same concept. On paper, it should work that way, because yeah, it is true. I mean, listen, I'm doing proactive services because I do live in Florida. I'm spending close to $200 a month on pest control, and I'm sure if there's any other rentals in this area with a home like mine, they're going to put that on the owner, or they're going to put that on the owner. And if you live in South Florida, you're going to have cockroaches in your house. You're going to have palmetto bugs. You're going to have all these ants. Like, it's just, I've lived, I've owned my own homestead down here for 20 plus years, and you never don't have bugs unless you're proactively treating it. And so it's just something that's great for those markets. And then for the other markets, or like you said, maybe downstream on C rentals or B rentals, they're just not going to do it. And then now you're just basically delaying the inevitable. Like you said, it's turning into a giant problem instead of treating that problem early. So you definitely kind of need some religion on this, and why it would be really important for somebody managing a lot of rentals.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge too is reoccurring pest control like you have on your home is great for a certain demographic, but it's ultimately it's proven to be too expensive for the most of the rental demographic, and it's definitely too expensive to incorporate into a monthly lease payment. It's just going to drive that total rent amount up too much. And so this is a real sweet spot.
My point of that though is that then the owner, the people that would be attracted to a home like this are going to learn that they're going to be paying that on their own, right? So then they're
Absolutely.
like taking this. So I just really want to drive home that marketing attractiveness of that to the tenants at the end of the day. That's really what I wanted to the point I wanted to make with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and now in most markets, in most cases, it's nothing. It's call me if you have a problem, and it is an argument, and it's a friction point. It's just a lot of added extra calls. I was going to make 1.2 on this as well. We do have clients that go to the owner side. Maybe, I don't know, 15-20% of our clients actually have their owners pay for that. And some just, that's the way they want to do it. They have like an owner benefit program. There are also some markets too that require the landlord to be responsible for certain pests. Colorado is one that calls out bed bugs and rodents specifically. And so we are very nimble in that regard, where we can also structure us that way, and or we can split it between the resident and the owner, and it's still just a very inexpensive way to handle the issue.
So really, if I'm a property manager and I come to you, I kind of say, hey, here's what I'm looking to do, or you're going to give me some options. And then I say, look, I think it's going to be the owner's responsibility. I think it's going to be the tenants, or it's going to be a combo, and you guys can customize all that. So it's not one size fits all.
100%. Yeah, our software is designed in a way where we can ultimately, by branch location, even if say you had multiple branches, we can customize coverage or plans. And yeah, it'd be real nimble with you. Most do just, we have a certain plan that most go with. It's kind of that middle of the road plan. And it covers a lot of crucial pests like rodents, ants, things like that, bed bugs. and they typically go to the resident side, and it's just very appropriate. And the residents, again, 4.5 out of 5 stars, like residents like it, and it's in the property management world, that's a really good rating. And so it's we feel very, very justified, very empowered by what we offer, that's for sure.
No, I definitely really the standards and reviews for property managers are different because of the natural friction of the relationship. Okay, so I don't know if we'll make this in the article because now we're getting the weeds, but I want to know, and I'm thinking somebody watching this would want to know. I got 300-400 doors, Landon, that I'm managing. I want to introduce this. That means somewhere between, like 200 to 300 move-ins every single year. How do I educate my tenants about this? Is this just going to be more work for me and my property managers? Can you help me make sure that when the tenant moves in, they know what is required of them, or what advantages they can take advantage of?
Yeah, so we have a client success team that's kind of our post-sale team, and this is the world they live in. Is their job is to drive activation up. So when we roll out, it's probably worth hitting on. When we roll out with new leases and renewals, which actually takes time, but it allows for us to be active with the client throughout this process too. So renewals are coming in. We want to capture these people. We want to get this in front of them, make sure they're educated on it. We have basic stuff like marketing materials, flyers, e-flyers that you can include. We have clients that sometimes, like once a year, once a quarter, will send out just a mass email to their residents, just making sure they're aware of their resident benefits. I'd say the coolest thing that we've done recently is we've actually have like just a simple like landing page we can plug into your website. That's kind of like your pest control section, or it can be a link within a maintenance page that kicks over. Our team actually designs the landing page totally like to your brand and makes it like actually fit your website. But it's meant to be there to not only educate them on what Pest Share is and how we handle pest control within your company, but then is a quick link over to our website to actually make a request to submit a claim. And so that's something, just kind of another resource we have that our team can provide. And we have digital marketing experts, web designers on our team that can easily do that and make it look good for you.
Perfect. And if I wasn't in the weeds enough, I'm going to get even more in the weeds. So who's fielding the phone calls? The property manager, the maintenance team? Are you training them on how to tell them to say, hey, you just need to do X, Y, and Z? Or do they then turn that over to you guys and you get involved? So what does that look like for me operationally?
Yeah, it's the nice part of Pest Share, it is as simple as just going to pestshare.com, and that's where the experience starts. What we found is there's no doubt there's this learning curve of the resident learning and understanding, like, okay, I'm gonna need to go here now and not, and again, pastoral issues aren't happening all the time. So there's a learning curve there. So what we've seen though is when they do call in, they go into the maintenance portal, whatever, the response typically is that of just like, hey, there's actually coverage through your resident benefit program. So good news, positive interaction. Just go to pestshare.com and they'll handle it from there. And it's simple enough that they're usually can just kind of redirect them, and it's not a friction point for the resident.
Fantastic. So I don't need to be an expert in Pest Share and what you do.
Heck no.
Literally say, great news, you are in the club, you're getting this product, this service, go here, they're going to handle everything for you. And I'm literally just outsourcing it to you, and I don't have to have any expense for it.
Yeah, I mean, well, absolutely. You've nailed it. The goal is, and our clients would say this of like, I don't really deal with pest control calls anymore. That used to be, figure you get 5 calls a month. Like those are typically though really crappy negative calls. Like, and although that's not a lot of calls, maybe that's not comparable to people calling about a broken AC unit in the middle of summer in Texas, like where you can get a million calls, but it is a crappy call. And anytime we can just reduce 1 call, let alone 5, let alone 50, we feel like we're making an operational impact. And again, that it goes full circle for the resident too. I will just note too, while we're in the weeds, the next, we're focused on building our core property management software integrations right now. The next layer of integrations that we want to do will be with other software platforms in the space. Anyone that touches pest control, maintenance platform, an inspection platform, that's where we want to go. And that's, it's probably too early to go way in the weeds on it, but our goal is intercept the resident on any platform we can anytime they're touching pest control, and an easy redirect back to us. That should just make our clients' life easier and easier and easier, as is the residents too.
You call that the insect intersect? Is that what you're doing?
That's right. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, that joke came out of me. No, that's fantastic. So then it's easy where, because I listen, as business owners, we're like, hey, I'm already running my business on X, or I've already committed to Y software, right? And then you could just be like, we got it. Just hit it, click a button, turn it on. Or obviously nothing is that easy in software, but you know what I'm saying. And then I don't need to train my operations team on new software. So, well, that was one of the questions I was going to ask, is kind of where you're going next. And it sounds like that's what it is. You're just going to try to make it more and more seamless, like user experience is really the competitive advantage you're working towards.
Yeah, I mean, we're still a relatively early stage company. We've been in the space for a few years now. We've raised some institutional capital as well to help kind of fuel our research and development, our product development, and our growth. At this point, we have about 60 people on our team, so like really good resources for handling our client base. But that's the next step is so ultimately is really ironing out our core processes, ensuring just the base experience very smooth, and now getting into more user experience basing. So integrations is a big piece. I think how we leverage AI within our companies can be very unique as well. Kind of coming back to that pest inspection process, I think there's unique ways we can leverage AI there. The other part too is there's really cool ways you can leverage AI for interactions and communication, whether that be support, or in our case, we've talked a lot about utilizing text-based AI with the residents to provide just a different form of experience where essentially you could save us as a contact in your phone as your pest control technician, your pest control solution. And when you have a pest issue, you can text and send pictures to us, and we can utilize AI actually to triage that claim submission process. And so versus going to even to a platform. So I do think that stuff's in the roadmap for the next 1 to 2 years, I don't know, maybe 12 to 18 months. But again, it's just more things that make it easier, more seamless for everyone involved.
Well, Landon, you couldn't call yourself a tech company if you didn't mention AI at least once in the interview.
I hate to be on the bandwagon, but it's really cool. There's cool ways to use it. That's for sure.
You just actually gave a great use case. I make that joke because some people just throw it, you remember the 99 days? It's like, .com thing. You actually just really laid out an amazing use case where that would be amazing. We do live on our contacts and our phones. We we're a bookmark society. We're a contact society. We're a Siri. Just tell people tell the phone what you want to do. Nobody remembers any phone numbers anymore like that. So I love that. And then if you use AI to actually solve a FAQ type of problem really fast, like I can get that answer back at 1 a.m. Right? I don't have to wait for people to show up. So that's
absolutely
really cool, actually.
Yeah, no, we're excited. At the end of the day, I often think of the pet pain points, like with a pet screening or one of the pet softwares. Pets weren't really a thing until someone came and developed a solution for it. And suddenly we talk about pets all the time, and now we're very aware of how impactful it is. Pests, similar but not the same, are the same thing. They feel like they really are hurting the bottom line in terms of experience, and then for the operators as well, the property managers. And so, and that's been the thing. It's not talked about because there hasn't been a solution. And now there's a solution, and we're very excited to talk about it and help people solve it in a way where they really don't have to do a lot. Give them an easy button for the problem.
Great. All right. So let's just talk numbers and scope, because when we feature property prop tech, it's usually something new, but I try to go to my way to make sure I'm talking about leading edge, not bleeding edge, meaning that it's kind of proven a little bit, I'm not taking a flyer on this entirely. You mentioned raising funding. I've seen you around for a while. So just kind of give us whatever you want to share, the scope of the business, the years in business, the background, because I think that all plays into this.
Yeah, so Pest Share was started as just a basic concept, and again, the property managers actually came to us as small business SFR property managers. That was back in 2018, 2019. We officially founded in 2020, came to the national market in 2021. As of today, we have about 60 team members. We've been in the space since 2021. Currently, by the end of this year, we'll have about 100,000 doors on our platform, by like 75 to 100,000 that are, you know, in that activation pipeline and signing on with us. And so, and then that by the end of the year, I'd imagine too, we'll be close to rounding at least the lower 48. Actually, we are in Hawaii. I don't know how we got to Hawaii, but we are in Hawaii. And so we were kind of focused on the lower 48, but maybe it'll be the 48 plus Hawaii, 49. So Alaska's the one state that we just aren't overly interested. Not a lot of, you know, professional property managers there anyways. And so
We just wait for the winter and all the pests die, right? It's just,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mother Nature handles that one pretty well. But they and then outside of that, yeah, we've you know, we have raised some institutional capital, several $1 million in institutional capital. We're backed by several prop tech firms in the space that are actually have several that are SFR specific prop tech firms, really awesome and you know, investors and backers in that regard, but also great advisory members as well. We've been extremely fortunate to have influential people in the space, both on the SMB side up to the institutional side, kind of huddle around us and help us on this journey. And so we feel Pest Share is very much so meant from anyone from 50 doors to 50,000 doors, 100,000 doors. And that, you know, the vertical feels different pains as you go upstream, but ultimately everyone does feel that pain, and everybody can benefit from the revenue advantages and the experience advantages that Pest Share provides. So yeah, we've got clients kind of all over the map in that regard, but really treasure everybody that comes on board with us and put a lot of energy into making sure they have a great experience with us.
Fantastic. Yeah, I wanted to share that because I want anyone watching this or reading to, you know that you know, they will not be in a beta program. This is something that is really mature and ran out, and I've heard good things from my clients. So I just want to really make sure we shared those numbers.
Yeah, now, absolutely. Yeah, we're pretty upfront. If we do have beta programs, we'll run. But yeah, definitely an established company at this point, established software.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want to prove out. This is more of my own personal curiosity, Landon. Where did the name Pest Share come from? How did you guys come up with that?
You know, we just love to share the bugs with everybody. Yeah. The original tagline, you know, the core concept of Pest Share. So our again, we have packages, plans with the Pest Share that as low as $5 per month. It's substantially cheaper than anything else. And it's all based off kind of this co-op concept of if we can take the volume in a portfolio, share the cost amongst that portfolio, we can leverage that to provide big pest control benefits and services. And so the original tagline, which I still hope we bring back one day, it just probably isn't stage appropriate now, was share the cost, not the bugs. And that's really where the name originally came from, was how can we share the cost of pest control? And I don't know who came up. Pest Share spun out and we all liked it. We ran with it. I think once you get to know the business, it makes more sense. If anything, at a quick glance, it's like Pest Share. Or do they share the bugs or something? But honestly, I think it makes it more memorable. Good name or bad, it makes it memorable for sure.
I actually think it's a sneakily good name because it's a surprise, right? It's like, what do you mean? Pest and Share, that's a good thing and a bad thing. I'm not used to seeing a good and a bad thing together, so I loved it. But honestly, when I had my first conversation with you, I even kind of knew it, you know, like you said, you use the co-op model. I know we're not allowed to use terms like insurance, that's regulated. But when you think about all things in life, even like a public company, you know, you buy shares, like you or I don't fund Apple's next investment. We buy shares of it, right? And so we're all, you know, kind of, you know, doing that. And so like, to me, that was just something I really wanted to make sure we focused on, because that's the fastest way to understand the innovation that you've done financially. You've done a lot of technical innovation, but the financial innovation is just this idea that we're sharing the cost, just making it very affordable for people that couldn't do it. And it's just evening out the slopes and the peaks.
Yeah, I mean, and you hit a great point too, of that, of like, our company, our model doesn't work without a lot of volume, and it doesn't work on a localized basis at those price points. And so we really do need every tenant. We need the volumes, and every single person in the mix is important for it to work. And as a result, everybody, you know, maybe there isn't a resident that uses the product in a given year. They don't have a covered pest infestation. On the flip side, though, is a little lady that got bed bugs, and by paying $5 a month, she saved $2,000. And so it's I don't know. I think it does feed up into our brand. And one thing that Pest Share has become is just our brand and our company is very much so about sharing and giving back. We donate substantially to NARPM, and NARPM's charity of choice every year. This year's communities and schools. We've tried to do a lot within the industry to also share in that regard, and so it's something we're passionate about, and we like to just see it come full circle.
That's a great point. I have seen that. And there's a lot of things you are doing sharing. So it's almost becomes like a cultural element of value that you guys build around, which is amazing.
For sure. Yeah, we love it. We feel like we're genuine people. We have a genuine team behind us, and the industry is just that too. I think anyone that's not a part of NARPM, it's not a part of one of these professional associations within the space, needs to join, because it really is all. We share that in common. It's a sharing environment where people are there to uplift and enrich one another's businesses. And so, I think it's really blessed and grateful to be in the space. It's a natural fit for our company and our people, for sure.
Yeah, I think both of you and I have built our businesses because of that community that revolves around making everybody else better and raising the professional standards. So I do agree. It's really hard to explain that to someone until they experience it firsthand.
For sure. Totally.
All right. I've been really enjoyed this, Landon. Is there anything I didn't ask that you want me to cover, or anything you want to share? Anything exciting or small things that you want to share with the audience?
No, I think we hit it really well. I think, I would kind of maybe just cap it off of like, I think, I love what you guys are doing. I think the being on that leading edge versus the bleeding edge, I've never heard that phrase. That's fantastic. You should coin that.
That's from the tech. I love that you're a tech company. You don't know that. We talk about that all the time.
I haven't heard that. I think it's so true. And we're very fortunate as small business operators. I actually not a lot, not everyone knows this, but we actually own a small business as well. We own a pest control company here in Idaho where we live, my co-founders and I. So we are on the other side of this too. And the business, our pest control model is very similar to property management, and staying in tune with the latest greatest is key. And so I think Pest Share is that, but there's also a lot of other really cool technology solutions and tech-enabled service solutions, just service solutions out there in the space. And again, publications like this, organizations like NARPM are the fastest way to stay in tune with it.
All right, Landon, I appreciate the time. Love what you're doing. Hope we're sharing clients for years to come, because I think it's an exciting program, and I can tell you care, and I can tell how much your team cares, and like you said, you share, you give back. That's a value. So really respect peer vendors like that are just out there giving before they expect to receive. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys as well. You guys are doing great things in the space.